Yeah, welcome. What day of the week is it? Saturday. Oh, it's Saturday because it's Saturdays with Spirit.
Yep.
So I'm Dallisa. I'm the CEO of Spirit and Spark, 5th generation psychic medium. And I love my panel members today. 2 of them work with me at Spirit and Spark, so it's a lot of fun. And Richard, I met years ago at a place we love to go to, the Ganesha Center, here in Las Vegas. And so let's actually start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why are you here? Why are you here on an episode about angels and entities?
I am Brother Richard, a bishop in the Order of Melchizedek. I am a spiritual teacher who works with primarily the 144,000, the saints robed in white, spoken of in many sacred texts, helping them remember who they are and identify and fulfill their sacred missions.
Beautiful, thank you. All right, Nicole, who are you and why are you here?
I'm Nicole. I'm an energy worker, and I work with negative energies and house clearing, and so I help people find a clearer, lighter space.
Perfect, thank you. And Brandy, why are you here?
I'm Brandy. I'm the Angelic Shaman that works here at Spirit and Spark. I am a Reiki Master teacher, so I also teach Reiki and do certifications. I'm a psychic medium, and I also do readings.
All right, perfect. And we'll try and speak up as much as we can to try and make sure that everyone can hear us, okay? So
friendly reminder.
I know you would think like people that work with angels and low vibrational beings that we're loud, we're there, and I have to remind everybody sometimes to speak up a little louder.
Yo, people, my name's Brandy. I'm just kidding.
We have a lot of fun at Spirit and Spark, if you can't already tell. But thank you to everyone that's tuning in on Facebook and Instagram. We love coming to you every Saturday, hopefully giving you a lot of information and content that will help you to formulate your own opinions and give you some information that you didn't have before you tuned in and watched us. So we are going to take questions at some point during this broadcast. But do us a favor. We love to hear where you're from. So please comment and let us know the city and state you're watching from. And we know we have international viewers as well. So let us know if you're not in the U.S., what country you're watching from. We love to interact with you. And if you do have questions, go ahead and comment with those. And Sarah's going to help us out and provide those questions to us during this broadcast. Okay, so I've got my clipboard ready and a whole list of questions. So angels and entities is the topic today, which I know we could talk for hours and hours and hours about angels and entities. But those are just 2 types of beings. So as we think about, angels and entities, is that it? Are there other types of beings? Or do angels and entities kind of cover everything?
Not by a long shot.
No.
Tell us more.
Well, for example, there are sons and daughters of God, beings like us and you, who are here to earn our ascension, to evolve spiritually and become a greater part of divinity. There are also elemental life, beings, sylphs, gnomes, salamanders, undines, whose purpose is to serve nature and fulfill nature's outpicturing in all of its glory.
I think you just blew some minds. They're like, what did he just say? We'll get into it. Stick with us. Don't worry about it. Are there any other kinds of beings that are out there that you think that people...
on the lighter side, he covered it really well. On the darker side, the entity is just a vibration, but specifically it's a lower vibration. Even there's a light side and a dark side to different types of entities. So I would say thought forms, negative thought forms. One thing that we didn't cover was reptilians that I wanted to talk about. There's actually good and bad parts of those, and the extraterrestrials.
Ah, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there. Okay. Let's talk then first about angels. Let's keep it with the light side first, okay? So with angels, when you think about angels, you often hear archangels as part of a conversation, or maybe somebody uses the term angel or archangel interchangeably, which may not be correct. So what are the differences between angels and archangels?
Well, all archangels are angels.
Okay.
My understanding is that an archangel is a being who has taken incarnation on our planet or a planet somewhere, earned their ascension, and returned as an ascended master from an angelic evolution.
Okay.
Many of them stick around and serve on the planet where they've evolved from. And most of us are familiar with the very common Catholic known archangels of Michael and Raphael and Gabriel and Uriel, etc. But there are many, many others.
Okay. Do archangels have like more power than regular angels?
In a simple way, yes.
Okay. 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 Yeah.
Just as an ascended master has more power than a human who's not
Okay.
yet ascended.
Okay. Okay.
We're all inherently God. We're all inherently
Right.
divinity. But
Yeah.
yes, in our expression, there's greater mastery.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Do you feel like there's more to add about differences between angels and archangels? Or do you feel like you covered it?
I look at the archangels as the directors of life because I feel like what our nice gentleman over here said is that they have earned their place, and I think their level of awareness and their level of consciousness and the way that life has worked, the way that life, the cycle of life and how everything is created, I think they have a higher level of understanding about that. So yes, I do believe that they have not just power, but they have earned the authority of God. And so, I think that they have more, the more of authority of God, and they have more of a higher level of responsibility. That's the way I feel like it's a responsibility that they have earned over many, many lifetimes. And, And so the angels, I believe, the ones that have earned their wings are still earning that. They're still evolving on the other side.
Okay.
So yeah, I still, even just as humans, we're all evolving.
Learning and growing.
Why not? Why not handle that shenanigans while you're on Earth?
Learning.
Does
and
everyone have a guardian angel?
growing. Yes.
I believe everyone is
Yeah.
born with one.
One guardian
I
angel.
believe at least
Okay.
they're all born, and there's an angel that is assigned, and it's all due to the law of attraction.
Okay.
Like what lessons is that person meant to learn, and what angel has decided to come and be with that one person so that they can kind of help guide them on that path.
Okay. Okay.
I have a slightly different view, perhaps an expansion on that idea.
Yeah.
I think that is correct as far as it goes, but I do believe that other angelic beings can jump in and help as needed, and sometimes there's a changing of the guard and you finished your process or cycle with one and another is ready to move in and take over.
Yep.
Okay. And I know I'm going off script here. So now I'm just fascinated. So, because I often get asked with clients, do I have an angel? How many angels are around me?
Oh yeah.
So we can all agree that everyone's got at least one angel around
Yes.
them at all times.
Yes.
And that if you talk to them, they can hear you. Okay?
Yes, absolutely.
I've heard they don't necessarily like to interfere unless you ask them for direct help. So free will kind of being involved there, perhaps.
Yeah, it's a little stronger than they don't like to.
Okay.
They just won't.
They won't
They
unless you
can't.
ask them.
It's-
Okay,
it's
perfect.
Cannot, yes.
Fundamental
Ask them.
law of cosmos is
Okay.
free will,
Okay.
particularly on planet Earth.
Okay. So it's important for everyone watching that if they want help from their angels, they need to specifically ask for the help that they need.
Yes.
That's why
Absolutely.
they say
The universal
they have
laws.
this. That's why they have this wonderful thing that we've invented called prayer.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, you're troubled, let's pray. Well, they listen to your prayers. They're like waiting, like, is she going to do it? Is she going to say it? Is she going to say it? It's like they celebrate.
All you have to do is ask.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Perfect.
it.
Okay.
To
Now,
kind of-
I want to use that as a stepping stone, though, because sometimes you don't have time to pray.
Yeah.
And one of the, I got a favorite here, but one of my favorite guardian angels is Archangel Michael, that we've spoken
Yes.
about before. And I don't care what's going on or where you are, but if something is happening that you feel the least bit of threat to, just yell the name Michael. Just call Michael, and he's there.
He'll acknowledge,
And
absolutely.
he will absolutely be present and do what he can to intervene and assist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I use him a lot. I call on him a lot. Yeah, I think we all do. Mm-hmm. He's kind of at the top of the list. A lot of people use Archangel Michael, but also I hear Archangel Raphael a lot. We're going to get into some of these angels here in a moment. Gabriel.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you have something else you wanted to add?
Yeah, well, when we were talking about how everyone is born with at least one, I think that I want to back up what he was saying, because I feel like we're all on the same frequency here. And I feel that the more you evolve, the lessons that you keep learning, once you've learned that lesson, the one falls away, and then you definitely get the assistance of where you're at vibrationally.
Okay,
absolutely.
So whatever you're working on, or whatever you need assistance with, God is always there, and His directors of life, like I like to call them, through God, are gifted to you as guides.
Beautiful.
As you evolve, so that's, you're never just one for. It's like that whole cycle of like, how death is too. I mean, it's like we're like, oh, where did that one go? Well, here this one is now. And, it's like that whole of not detachment, of not getting it emotionally detached. That's a lesson in itself too.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so we named some of the archangels. So how do we know which one to call upon based on, what's going on in our life? How do we know?
Well, if you remember back in high school, there were different subjects that you studied, and you had English and math and history and each of these different subjects. Within the spiritual teachings that I'm familiar with, there are different principles or subjects that are referred to as the 7 rays. The archangels serve primarily on one of those rays, each of the archangels. So the first ray has to do with protection and God's will and your divine plan and your purpose. And Archangel Michael and his twin flame Faith are the archangels that serve that. Now, that's not to say there aren't other archangels that serve the blue ray and can be involved, but for protection kinds of things, as we've said, Michael is the go-to. The second ray is about wisdom, which is not knowing a thing, but knowing what it means, knowing what to do with it. The archangel of wisdom is Jophiel, and his twin flame, Christine.
Okay.
The third ray is about love. The archangel of the third ray is Chamuel, and his twin flame, Charity. And that's love in all forms.
Yes.
The fourth ray is the ray of purity, the ascension, the divine mother, that principle that the mother bear that will pick the car up to protect her children. The archangel of that ray is Gabriel, and his twin flame, Hope.
Yes.
The fifth ray is the ray of healing and math and science, and that's where we find Raphael. So for healing things, we have Raphael, and his twin flame, Mother Mary. The sixth ray is the ray of service and ministration. That's the ray of the priest or the king, service to others in some way. That ray, the archangel, is Uriel, and Aurora is his twin flame. And then the seventh ray is the ray of transmutation, the ray of alchemy, the violet flame, as it's called, and that is Zadkiel and Holy Amethyst. Now, those are the 7 rays. There's an 8th ray, which is the ray of integration, which sort of ties it all together. The archangel of the 8th ray is Metatron, and his twin flame is Shekinah.
You threw out some new names to me. Yeah, for
That's
sure.
why we're here.
That's
Yes.
why we're here, because I'm learning right along with everyone else that's watching. Okay, you talked about twin flames, as you just mentioned.
Yes.
The archangels. This might be the first time I wasn't aware of twin flames with archangels before we started this conversation. What are they? Yeah.
Most people know about archangels through a Catholic teaching, a Catholic theology. Catholicism is very, very, very heavily weighted in the masculine. It's way out of balance in that regard, and so there's very, very little given to the feminine side. But to be an archangel serving on one of these 7 rays, you have to be with your twin flame. I think most people understand the idea of a twin flame, which is a being that when you are created in a polarity of 2 halves, which separate and individualize, but you retain your connection. I mean, we have so many metaphors in English, at least, of, the other, your better half, the other side of the coin, whatever. It's that one that you are a creation with, but you separate into individuality and take incarnation and earn your ascension separately. When both have, then you can unite as ascended twin flames.
Gotcha.
In order to serve as an archangel on one of these rays. It's not just being a plumber, it's being the head of the plumbers union. It's a position of authority and dominion. And as such, you need to be with, as I understand it, with your twin flame.
Okay.
And you serve together. And so again, we're not taught that, but they really do serve as one. When you're calling Michael, you're calling Faith too.
Okay.
Because it's just like calling the Joneses.
Okay. Yeah.
You call their house, you call the house, you don't know who's going to answer. Either one of them could. They're both there.
Is it more powerful to call upon Michael and Faith together? Or
I don't
is it
know.
needed?
I don't know that power is necessarily the right word. It's more complete.
Okay.
But again, when you call for Michael or you call for Faith,
They're there.
they're there.
both.
You get
All
both
right.
because they
Okay.
are one.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the left handle or the right handle of the pot.
Okay. Yeah. Makes it easier when they're both there. Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Wow. I just learned a lot. Yeah. Okay, so those of you watching, I'm sure you've got questions about angels and what we just talked about, and archangels. Yeah. That's a lot of really beautiful information. Thank you for sharing that. But with angels, we also need to talk about entities. And when I was naming the episode, I was thinking of entities as these low vibrational beings, okay? So when you think about entities or low vibrational beings, what do you think of? Like, what comes to mind?
Havoc.
Havoc, okay.
Chaos. Disharmony.
Depression, pain.
Pain. In all aspects of yourself, inside and out. So that would
Yes.
be like physical pain and disharmony in the outside part of your life. So they affect, physically and environmentally.
And is an entity like a thing?
It can manifest into something very physical, but I believe it all begins with the way that you think and the way that your thought forms and how your quality of your consciousness and your awareness and your thoughts.
Your vibration,
Your
your
vibration.
energy, the energy and vibration around you can become that form.
Okay. And we're
It's-
talking
it's-
about like addiction and things like that as being an entity or a low vibrational being. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. In agreement with everything that has just been said, there are what are known as mass entities, which are beings that I like the image of a big giant amoeba. There's consciousness there. They do react to stimulus, but they're basically single purpose. They exist only to eat, only to become more. And there are particular kinds of mass entities that are tied to particular addictions.
Yes.
So spiritus is a name for the entity that is for alcohol. And it taps in. Normally the tap is on the spinal column, just around the shoulder blade area, up and down a little bit, but in that neck of the woods. And what they do is stimulate behavior that causes you to engage in activities that create an opening that they tap into, and that allows them to steal your light energy. Now, in general, we can talk about entities as beings that don't have a direct connection to source light energy. So all of them have this common thread of needing to get energy from us or other beings of light in order to sustain themselves.
They feed.
Exactly.
You're the host.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yikes.
And some of them are as simple as a desire or a prejudice or a whatever. Others are more complex, but they have that common thread that they only exist by virtue of being able to take light from others.
Yeah. And I see it with clients, and I know, we all work with people that have had entities, and we can do a scan of the energy field and see that there's an entity or a being that's attached to them. And I often see them in the back, in the spine. And I'll look, and at first, like, I'll feel like there's something there, but I don't see anything. And then I'll, like, have my team, it's kind of interesting, but I'll have them, like, turn the energy, and I'll see, like, something start poking out. And it's gnarly, and not, like, in a good way.
No.
Yeah.
They can attach to you and claw into you in different forms dependent upon the energy. So it can, like, you can basically wear it. It's part of you.
Right.
Depending on how deep
I
and
want to
dark.
start before we get in heavy to like the heavier types of demons and archdemons. I want to let everyone know that your free will is very powerful, and your thoughts are so powerful, and God gives you a chance to figure this out with your own emotions. So we all experience emotions on this planet, and that's why we came here, to experience emotions. And we all get angry, and we all get these gnarly feelings. But just necessarily doesn't mean that you have an entity if you're angry or depressed. It's like, how long do you stay depressed? How long do you last in that anger? How long are you holding that grudge? The manifestation part is really important. So don't think that just because you've lost your crap on someone that you have an entity. It's just, how long do you hold that anger?
And what do you do with it?
And what do you do with it?
Yeah.
Choices, your choice, your free will. What do you do with this? So you're not like doomed if you're like, oh my god, do I have an entity? I just really laid onto my sister the other day, and it's like, no, just we don't want to cause fear or instill fear in anyone, because that's definitely not a good thing. But I want to let you know that it's just a long period of time that these things manifest. So I just wanted to make that very clear.
Yeah.
Really quickly, something told me to just say that.
Yeah. So then how would somebody know that's watching? How do they know they have an entity? Or what are some of the signs or signals? I mean, you just mentioned like a length of time where something may be going on where you're feeling like it's not leaving you. Like maybe you keep looping.
What is your consistent thought? What are your patterns? How do you react? What's your continuous reaction? Is it a physical reaction? Are you fighting? Are you doing things? Do you have consistent road rage? Are you drinking? Are you taking drugs? Who's around you? What's your environment like? It's the whole picture. It's not just one little thing. But as you're looking at that whole picture, what can you do to make that better and choose differently?
That's a great way to explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I would also like to add that when you have a certain way that you're doing things, or when you have a pattern in your life, or you realize that you're not, you haven't fully processed something that happened to you due to either trauma, but usually I feel like this is really how it starts, is like, things happen to you, or you've done something, or, you're not getting past a certain emotion, or you're forgiving, or, getting caught up in anger or in anxiety, or, I would encourage you to take the time to process things fully, so that you don't hold on to things that lead to heavier things such as addiction. And I don't think that someone just goes and gets addicted to drugs because they want to do drugs. I think it's what happened to them to cause them to run away from their feelings, or what caused them to want to choose that path to not acknowledge.
But it is a slow process. You don't just get addicted overnight. It's a very slow process to get to that addiction, to get to that point where you are. Adversely, when you clear it, take small steps to clear it and allow yourself to be human and in the human body, in that human form, and allow yourself mistakes. Give yourself forgiveness and love, so you can give that forgiveness and love to somebody else. And take your time learning to do better and allow that light in there. It's a process. Adversely, it's not going to happen overnight.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I was going to say, one of the things that people often get confused about is not everything in your life that isn't wonderful is an entity.
Right. That's what I was
Yes.
saying.
Human
Yes.
condition.
Yes.
Sometimes
Life
it's
just
a matter.
stinks.
Well, sometimes it's a matter of your own personal growth.
Yes.
But there are also attachments that we have to other people or that they have to us. There are habits that are just habits. They're not addictions. They're just habits.
Absolutely.
There are hexes. There are ill wishes that others project as thought forms. And,
Yes.
and a thought form is, in essence, it could become an entity, or it could resemble or resonate enough with an entity that's like it, like hate, that there could be a connection. But one person just, I hate this person, to another is not necessarily creating an entity attachment. But it is an energy that you have to deal with.
Right.
You have to look at the big
So-
picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes right down to it, within light, there is no capacity for darkness. You know, you have a flashlight, you turn it on, the darkness is gone. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
how dark it was, the light is light. So increasing your light, being centered in the light, identifying, doing all of those spiritual practices, that just naturally causes these things to fade away.
Yes.
As far as physical addictions are concerned, there's good evidence that says that in the physical plane, most of that is caused by a lack of oxytocin production. Oxytocin is an essential hormone. It's called the bonding hormone.
Yes.
And if your body isn't producing it in adequate amounts, you don't feel connected.
No.
But when you engage in the addictive behavior, that triggers that release, causing you to feel connected. So that has nothing to do with spiritual light and darkness or entities, but it's just like the surfer on the wave. Those entities use that wave as part of their feeding.
Right. The drugs turn off your connection too. So it just further enhances that because there's no nerve connection. There's none of that continuous flow. And you've just totally cut it off pretty much. So you don't have that ability to build it back in.
Yeah.
Have you found that entities smell?
Yeah.
I know that's
Yeah.
funny, but we were just talking
We do.
about this
Yeah.
because
We do.
one of my psychic students created this beautiful painting that we have at Spirit and Spark.
Yeah.
And it's the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, and then there's a smell no evil.
Yeah, where one of the Buddhas are literally like doing this.
And I'm like, what the heck are these, like, what are these smelling?
I was really admiring that because we just got it in, and I'm like, oh, they have their nose plugged. That's great. And she's like, yeah, what is that? I'm like, yeah, they have a foul odor.
You can
Yes.
smell evil.
An odor is a very, again, fundamental lizard brain kind of a sense. Very, very basic. And so for very fundamental energies and vibrations, often we experience them as an odor. And I've worked with people who, when they're in a situation that isn't right, they smell. And they think they
Yes.
smell, or around them smells, or something.
Yes.
And that's just part of how they experience, how their mind becomes aware of the darkness.
Okay, so it's true.
Now, on the flip side,
Yes.
angels smell too.
Yeah.
What do they smell like?
Like
Cookies.
Cookies.
pie
Cookies and
and
pie.
jasmine and all sorts
What?
of wonderful things.
It's
Aw.
Trigger. It's a
It's
trigger.
so funny though.
Yeah.
I am so glad we're laughing because the energy needed to change for a second. But it's so funny because, I look at the angels as my family. And so when people hug me, they're like, you smell so familiar. I don't know what that smell is. What is that? What are you wearing? And sometimes I wouldn't be wearing anything at all. But I take no credit for being me.
Yeah.
I'm like, aha, you guys, see? They can smell you. But
Yes.
it's like, you know the difference, definitely. And I think that if you were to ever want to know, like, who your practitioner will be, or, if you are, like, kind of interviewing people to, like, have your, as your spiritual coach or anything, this is a really great indicator. as to how comfortable you feel. Do they feel familiar? Do they feel like that universal life force energy? Like, do they feel like that energy of God, like where you just feel comfortable and safe? You know, if you look around and you don't feel comfortable, do not do it. If you look and you're like, oh my God, I feel like I can breathe in here. I feel like I'm at home. This is not my home, but I feel comfortable here. Or I feel comfortable telling this person my life story. I think that's like,
you need to feel welcome.
Speaking of smells, but that kind of just goes into that whole feeling of being in their presence.
And you bring up a good point. We are going to take questions. If anybody has a question that they want to post, we'll be taking those in just a moment. So go ahead and post any questions you have about today's show topic. But you bring up a good point about trusting somebody to work with, because one of the questions I had for today was, what do you do if you think you might have an entity? And I think you need to go to somebody that you trust and a practitioner that knows what they're doing. And unfortunately, not everyone that says they're a shaman or a light worker or an entity remover, they're not all created equal, and they don't always work with the light. And it's important that you do your homework and trust the person that you're having a session with. Does anyone have any points they want to add to that, or the importance of working with somebody that's a professional?
With that trust, you allow yourself to open as well. And so once you trust that person and you have a comfort, there is an opening and a vulnerability. Even though you're already in a heavy vulnerable state, you are vulnerable to allow that in and accept to heal further. And that's huge in healing. You need to have that acceptance and that open.
One of the things that I teach people is that everything that happens always has the agreement of all the souls who are affected by it. As applies here, you're not looking for a professional at random and picking the best one. What you're really doing is finding the one that your soul has an agreement with already.
I just got the goosebumps.
For them to help
I wish I
you
could
and
show
for
you.
you to be part of their journey and their service to life. And so trust your intuition, trust that inner voice, you know, the hair on your arm or the back of your neck, or however, the expression I love is ring of truth.
The ringing of the ears.
Exactly what you just experienced. As I said a thing that was true, it resonated within you. Trust that in general, and very specifically as applies to choosing someone to work with. As was said, you are being vulnerable. You are taking off, or done correctly, you know, exposing yourself and getting rid of all of the shields and masks and barriers you put up. Because that's where the thing is that you've got to deal with. And so you want to be with someone who helps you and who feels right to you in that capacity.
And it takes time to heal.
It definitely takes time. I do. This is one of the things that I say to my clients a lot of the times is I thank them so much because, you know, if I wasn't able to, if they weren't open and vulnerable and willing to kind of go through their, you know, their shenanigans that they have, I definitely wouldn't be able to see any of it. I wouldn't be able to feel it. I wouldn't be able to have my team move the energy around in the room. And so it's like I look at them and I am almost so proud, and the ego stays out because you realize it's not even you. You're just holding the space for the team to do it. And you're looking at them and you're just like, I'm so proud that you just did that and allowed the higher power to just come in and do these miracles for you because you were ready, and in divine timing you were meant to be here so that you could feel safe enough to do that. So it's really taking that yourself out of the situation and realizing that it was just the team and them that decided that it was the divine timing that they were going to meet at this specific moment for their healing. And so it's like giving them gratitude, letting them know, not you, not them. They'll say, oh my God, thank you, I feel so much better. I'm like, no, wait a minute, thank yourself. You know, I'm so proud of you for being so open to allow them to help you. And I give my clients the power of saying, you know, please take this moment to give permission to all the angels that are present to work with you at this very moment in time for it to be nothing more or nothing less than what is needed. You know, because that's so important to the universal law. So whatever you're meant to give up vibrationally at that very moment is what's going to happen because you willed it to do so.
Yes.
One of the things to keep in mind is we are human beings and we have habits. We have things we're used to being, doing, experiencing.
Yes.
I've had the experience of cutting the bonds of someone's, whether, you know, alcohol, tobacco, whatever, and just slicing it off, and it's done. But a couple of days later, it's back.
Yes.
Because their human has recreated it and allowed and given permission for it to be reattached, because it's a process of shifting your consciousness to where you don't need, want, accept, allow, kind of in that order.
Yeah. Yes.
The presence of whatever this other being is and this energy.
Now, if somebody says, okay, I think I need to go in and get a session, it's not scary, right? For them?
It could be.
Well,
So, like, how could it be? So, talk a little bit about, like, what somebody could expect. I know each session will be different, but...
For a lot of people, it is the same thing as going to, let's say, an AA meeting, because you're admitting that you have something that you're not happy about yourself. And, again, being human, in general, we're very prone to criticism. And the number one person that we like to criticize is ourselves.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
So as soon as you recognize, gee, I wish I weighed a little bit less, or I wish I didn't smoke, or I wish I, whatever. That's criticizing yourself because there's something wrong with yourself. There isn't, but that's how people experience it. And so that can be difficult for them to own the fact that, oh, yes, there is something here that I think I'd be happier if I changed.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I love how you describe that. It's beautiful.
or even if they don't know, even if they just come to you and they're like, I'm miserable. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just know that I'm not leaving my room. I don't want to go out and face the world. I don't know what's happening, you know. Their awareness, their level of awareness is so fogged at that point that they don't even know what it is. They don't even know that smoking is a bad thing. They're just thinking, I just been doing it since I was 14. I don't know. You know,
Right.
they just don't, it's really just taking the time to be patient enough to not lower your perception at all, but to have a level of compassion to where you can see through their eyes for a moment to help them understand where they got caught.
And it's up to us to talk to them and explain to them the process and comfort them and walk them through the process.
Yeah.
So they can almost more or less consult with them so they can have an understanding of what is going to happen so they're not lost in what's coming out, because sometimes releasing, you're letting go.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a relationship that you've bonded with that entity or being or what have you. You have bonded with that, so that release and letting go is very hard. That you're letting go of a relationship.
And sometimes they don't even know that they don't even know. You like say, okay, it's funny because I love the way that my team shows me certain life patterns. They'll play it to me like a movie, and they'll show me certain life patterns or certain situations that a person has, so that I could precisely explain it to them and how this happened. And they'll be like, I remember that exact moment.
Yes.
And so it's like an aha moment or an epiphany all of a sudden, and they understand it completely. It's something that clicks, and they become aware of it. So now that their free will can then change that moment, it's like a change in like a line of succession almost. I don't know how to explain it, that part, but yeah, I just get really excited when people have those like epiphany moments. They're like, oh my God, you're right. I totally forgot all about
so
that.
awesome, the opening and the releasing, that
Yeah.
feeling, the energy.
And not only that, but you know, if I could just because I know that we're coming at the end, your power and your connection to God, no matter the angels and the entities, they are all there as just
servants.
The servants. That's a great word. You know, we're in service of God or we're in service of the other energy, but it's really your connection to God that is going to solidify, and then the directors are going to know which way. Okay, now she's chosen this, or he's chosen this, or they've chosen this. So now your connection, your where you're drawn to, is going to be amplified based upon your team will be amplified based upon your choice of whom you serve. And
Absolutely.
so I don't want to forget that part. The last time we had a video, I was so upset that I didn't mention it. And so yeah, your connection to the God Spirit, however you view him, Buddha,
The creator,
whatever.
the source.
There's no just know that there is God present in every single religion, and it's just up to you to find that.
Absolutely.
That moment, that's just that. And I have no bias on any type of religion, actually. I was born Christian, then I was born again Christian, then I was married into a Catholic family, and I saw that, and then I'd see a Buddhist monk, so I've seen that, and it's like, he's everywhere. I love this. I go into the forest, and he's there, so it's like, hey, all you gotta do is just, like they say, lift a rock, and there he is. Whoa. It's an
Don't
epiphany.
forget, you are God. You are I am. You are part of God, too, and that's why you need that connection.
Yeah, it's like,
And I wanna
talk about entities, we have to talk about
Play
that.
off of that, because a question you asked a few minutes ago is someone who is scared, or how do they deal with it? For me, I counsel people that you are already perfect, whole, and complete.
Yes.
Your soul, your true self, is pristine and glorious. But as a human, you've put on some clothes, some masks, some shields. You picked up some stuff that you're carrying around. And all of that is what we're talking about here. That's all you have to do is let it go. It's not a matter of changing who you are. It's not a matter of becoming something more.
We can go back to the Adam and Eve times when they felt like they needed to wear clothes.
It's just a matter of letting it go.
Let go and let God. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're all made to be. We're all made perfectly to love and be loved.
Yes.
That's
Absolutely.
Amen.
Let's see, Sarah, are there any questions that came through that you think would be a good fit for today's episode?
I mean, there wasn't really a question. There was one comment that
Okay.
Someone mentioned that they've been sick for the last 3 years and the doctors can't figure out what's going on with them. Can we maybe just elaborate, not so much that yes, still go to the doctor, but there are other alternatives if they can't figure out what's wrong. Maybe there is an entity, maybe.
I think, there's a book that I always recommend to people, so I'm glad you brought up this comment. Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. And there's a lot of information in that book about how things that are emotional, that you haven't released, let go of, can turn into disease within the body. And of course, none of us are medical professionals. We're not going to tell you to do one thing or another, but I would suggest that you look into reading different books and seeing where this illness within your body may have come from. So just digging a little bit deeper.
So
Let me
your connection.
play off of that just a little bit. Within a lot of Eastern philosophies and teachings, there are what are known as 4 lower bodies. You have a physical body, a mental body, an emotional body, and what's called an etheric body, or the memory body.
Yes.
They're all interconnected. They're all part of the whole in the material plane. But if your emotional body is wounded, it can affect your physical body.
Absolutely.
Or if your mental body is entertaining thoughts and ideas and things that are dark, that can affect your physical body. So yes, follow all professional advice and seek proper counsel, but consider the possibility that some part of the cause of what you're dealing with is not purely physical.
Yeah, and any other doctor would say, if you're not satisfied, seek a second opinion.
Absolutely.
And then not only that, but maybe book a session with an energy worker to kind of get a second opinion energetically, because that's why I do psychology work and spiritual work, because I feel like one is not good without the other. I think they're both very intertwined. So if you can just, maybe you're only looking at one side of the coin, one side of your possibilities. So I would say, look at every single aspect
You need to
Yeah.
fill your cup all the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fill your
Thanks,
cup.
Nicole. Yeah.
Fill
Fill your cup.
And if you're
people.
and if you're looking for an energy session with either myself, Nicole, or Brandy, we are available at Spirit and Spark. So you just go to spiritandspark.com. You can request a session on there, learn more about us. Tell us, where can viewers find you and connect with you, Richard?
Well, the fact is, I do what I do as it presents. I don't have a practice or a congregation or any such thing. So anyone wishing to get in touch with me,
Yeah,
through
perfect.
Spirit and Spark, and they'll get word to me and I'll get back to you.
Absolutely. We'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today, everybody.
Yeah.
That was very enlightening. I learned a lot today about angels and low vibrational beings and archangels and twin flame angels and
Yeah. I would like
Yeah.
to just say one more thing.
quickly, yes.
Quickly. That there are certain archangels that work together really good. And so if there's someone out there that is just meant to feel like I meant to say this, if there's someone that's wanting like physical healing as well as emotional healing, Archangel Ariel and Archangel Raphael work really
Perfectly,
great
yes,
together for that.
yes.
So you'll get the elements of healing with the fire, the air, the water, the earth, and the etheric with Ariel, and you'll also get the emotional healing and the medical downloads that you're supposed to get and guidance you'll get from Raphael. So whomever it is that's listening, I hope you hear that. So there you are.
Perfect. Great way to close. Just getting into some extra information.
Yeah, I just felt like I
All right.
wanted to say that.
Perfect. So it's all good. We'll see you next Saturday, Saturdays with Spirit. Until then, enjoy your day and have a lovely weekend.
Mwah.
Bye. Oh, lovely. Thank you everybody for watching.